Hey guys, this is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina. I'm a BQH practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath, among many other things. I really don't like labels, but it helps you to understand what I do and who I am, so I use them. I wanted to talk a little bit about narcissism today and codependency. It keeps coming up, and it's a really interesting topic. My thoughts and feelings about it have evolved over the years since learning all about narcissism and empaths and codependency. In the beginning, people have different feelings about narcissism. In the beginning, when you first learn about narcissism and that maybe you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it feels very shocking. And there's so many thoughts that go on, right? It's like, how did I end up here? Like, how is it that I'm a victim? And then you kind of get stuck in that victim mentality. Like, how could they do this to me? And a lot of the people out there speaking about it kind of keep that theme going of, you're a victim and these people are evil and blah, blah, blah. But I want to approach this a little bit differently. There's an amazing teacher out there. Her name is Melanie Tanya Evans. And she is the only one I've seen that's really approached the narcissism thing from a spiritual perspective, from a higher perspective. And I love what she says about it, everything she says about it, because it's true. The narcissist and the empath are both deeply traumatized people. And what they're doing is just mirroring each other's wounds and the lack of self-love. The difference between them, yes, there is a difference and there are similarities. The difference being that the empath has the capability of taking responsibility for his or her actions, where the narcissist does not. And the amazing thing about that is when we have the awareness of why we ended up in these relationships and how that has affected us and how we mirror each other as a narcissist. And I'm sorry, I'm like really itchy. And how we've mirrored each other. And most people that attract narcissists will have like a lifetime of attracting these things into their lives. And this is really for one reason, one really big reason. And the reason being is because they need to learn to love themselves. Like fully, truly, madly, deeply love themselves and not accept less than they deserve. Also, to trust themselves, because there's always, 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 always warning signs and red flags. When you look back, you'll see that there were little red flags in the beginning that you didn't pick up on and you ignored, or you brushed them off as something else. And so it always comes back to the self. Healing from narcissism and codependency requires us to really look honestly at ourselves and why we've attracted these things and where we're lacking in our own self-love and healing our trauma. Because we're both highly traumatized. The trauma might look different because trauma is subjective. It looks different for everyone. What might be traumatizing for one person might not be for another person. It depends on the sensitivity and the subjectivity of that person. But the one constant is that both the empath and the narcissist are deeply traumatized and lacking in self-love. And so then the journey unfolds in learning to love the self again and to be authentic in who you are and to stop people pleasing and place loving boundaries with people, to have healthy anger, to know where you stop and someone else begins. Because in that codependency, we get so enmeshed with another person that we lose our sense of self. And we need to generate that solid sense of self within us, like who we are. Who are we? You know, we have to ask ourselves these questions and do the deep, deep healing required to recover. Yes, to recover from a relationship with a narcissist, or just to recover ourselves and who we are and how we lost so much of ourselves within a relationship. And it's not that you're just going to be healed one day and it's going to stop happening. Generally, there's a pattern. And after you heal from one relationship, it keeps showing up in other ways, in other people, in different situations, until you really get a grasp on who you are in your sovereignty, in your light, in your beingness, in your authenticity, till you get solid enough in your own self-love that you stop attracting that as a mirror, because it's just mirroring back to you what you're lacking within. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to swallow. But it's really the truth of the situation. And there's an even higher perspective. In the work of quantum healing, excuse me, we learn that we have many different lives, right? And we weren't always good people in every single life we've ever lived. We've had contrast. So if you are attracting narcissists in this life, you have to take into consideration that you were a narcissist in another life. That was you. And you chose this life to experience the other side of that, to being on the other side of the narcissist. And that's really even more difficult for people to swallow and understand, but it's true. You weren't always an empath. You were a narcissist in another life, to put it simply. For the narcissist, like the narcissist in my life, I will always love them, have love for them. One, because they taught me so much about myself. Without them, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And that is the truth. Two, because they are highly traumatized, and that's really sad. Most of them have had some kind of really significant trauma in their lives, whether that's physical abuse, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, you name it. And then they develop this personality disorder as a way to protect themselves. They're just trying to protect the self from getting hurt again. And anyone can understand that. We all do it to some extent. And then also, when you think about that, that was you in a past life, or maybe that will be you in your next life. So surely you can have compassion for yourself and understand that we choose these experiences, that these aren't just thrust upon us. Like, before we come in here, we have choices, and we choose what we want to do in this lifetime according to what we need to learn. So if you need to learn self-love, then attracting narcissists is the best way to do it because there's no faster way. If you're willing and open to look at yourself, there's no faster way. But if you aren't open and willing to look at yourself and the way you've been traumatized in this life, then yeah, it's going to be a long road. And it is a long road recovering from narcissistic abuse. It is very damaging. I'm not saying that it's not damaging. It is very damaging, and no one deserves it. But part of healing from it is realizing that you don't deserve that. So make better choices. Make better choices next time. And keep making better choices until you get it right. Until you're not attracting them anymore. And is it possible not to attract that kind of behavior anymore? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't think there is any wrong or right. It's really just about the experience. And this is what you chose to experience. The other factor is, so we're seeing this as almost feeling like an epidemic, right? There's like this epidemic of narcissism, and everybody's a narcissist. And, you know, if you don't get along with someone, they're a narcissist. So is it really happening more, or are we just shining a light on it now and learning more about it? From my perspective, I feel like we are shining a light on it, that this has always been here. I mean, if you look at how our society has progressed over the years, it has been like this deeply ingrained sense of the patriarchy and the toxic masculine and their control and greed, and all of that has been deeply ingrained in our culture. And now that the light is coming in, it's illuminating all of those dark parts that we need to heal. And it's not just that narcissists need to heal. As empaths, we need to heal. Like, we all need to heal. So all of this darkness is bubbling up to the surface right now to be addressed, to be looked at. What ways aren't we honoring the self? In which ways aren't we loving the self? In which ways have we been feeding into this programming of being less than and not honoring who we truly are as these beautiful divine beings of light, these multidimensional beings? In which ways aren't we honoring that within ourselves? And then there's also learning to balance the masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. As within, so without. Everything we see happening in the world is just a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And so there's that perspective too. There's so many different layers to this subject of narcissism. There's also that your soul chose these experiences, these challenges, as a way to advance as a soul, to evolve, to grow, to expand in your beingness. I mean, what better way to expand your soul is than to have these relationships with narcissists that really force you to look at yourself. Narcissists, as far as I'm concerned, are this huge catalyst for change. For us to face everything that we fear about the world, about ourselves, deep within us, all this fear that we hold. They are catalysts for this huge change within us, and this expansion and this light and this love that we can now feel for ourselves when we once felt so empty and alone and self-loathing. Now we can really feel the light of who we are. We can feel our own love. We can feel the source love within us, and that is who we really are at the core. And yeah, there's just so many different levels to it. It's not as simple as this person is an evil narcissist and look what they did to me and I'm such a victim. No, that's not even close to what's really happening here. There's something much bigger going on, and it's happening for your own soul growth and for the growth of humanity as a whole. And I think having these higher perspectives really allows us to let go of that victim mentality, to forgive the narcissist, to have compassion for the narcissist, to have love for the narcissist. I'm not saying stay in an abusive relationship. Absolutely not. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. You can have compassion for them from afar. You can forgive someone and let them go, not because you're excusing their behavior, but because you're freeing your own self from that anger and resentment. When you forgive someone, you are not giving them like a get out of jail free card or like letting them off the hook. Everyone should be accountable for their behavior. However, you're releasing yourself from those chains, from that anger, from that resentment. When you forgive someone, you're not doing them a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. You're releasing yourself from those binds. And that's so liberating. It's so liberating. Like when you can be in that space, solid within yourself enough to forgive someone, truly forgive someone that has hurt you so deeply. But you understand from such a higher perspective that you can see the whole picture. And you understand that you could have been that in a past life, or maybe you'll be that in a future life because that's the experience you want to have. And because the light's coming in and illuminating this darkness, and you're a part of that, you're a part of this illumination and helping humanity heal this wound, this deep wound. Like how beautiful is that you get to be a part of that. Your soul is so excited to be a part of that in healing this deeply ingrained wound. Does it happen overnight? No. It takes time to truly learn to love the self. That's why loving the self is a journey. But when you can see from the higher perspective, it really releases you from that victimhood and allows you to expand even more than you ever thought possible. It's really incredible to be in that space of forgiveness. And no, please be clear that I'm not saying, because I hear the comments now, I'm not saying stay in a relationship. No, get out of that relationship and start working on yourself. Do your healing. Heal your trauma and start loving yourself again. Have healthy boundaries with people. Have healthy anger with people. Express yourself and learn to love yourself again. That is the journey. And the amazing thing about that is you have the capacity to do so. Is there hope for the narcissist? I don't know. I really, most of them aren't capable of the self-awareness that it takes for reflection to look at themselves, because their sense of self and the mask that they wear is on so tight that it would be really difficult for them. I'm not saying impossible, but it is very difficult for them. But with you, it's not as difficult. You have that sense of awareness. You have the capability to look within and to heal from within. So consider that a blessing. And consider the narcissist in your life a blessing, because it's helping your soul expand. You chose this. We chose this. And I speak from experience. I mean, obviously I speak from experience. Like I've been there. I've gone through all of it, and I'm still learning to navigate. So I just wanted to share with you some of my reflections and perspectives on the whole thing. Because there are many different perspectives, many different levels of perspectives you can have when it comes to narcissism. You can remain a victim. You can see it as a catalyst for growth and change, and learning, forgiveness. You can understand that on a soul level, you chose this for a reason, and you may have been a narcissist in another life yourself, and you wanted to see what it felt like to be on the other side of that. There's so many different levels and perspectives to have, and you can hold them all at the same time. But just remember to always have compassion for yourself too. Have compassion for yourself too, and have forgiveness for yourself. Forgive yourself. That's the main thing we do, is we beat ourselves up so much of how could this have happened to me, and why is this happening to me? And really coming into that forgiveness for self is it's liberating. And forgiveness for the narcissists in your life, or whoever they may be, if it's not a narcissist, whoever it is, have forgiveness for them. It doesn't mean you're letting them off the hook. It means you're freeing yourself. And that's a beautiful feeling to have. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Please share in the comments like what your experiences with narcissism are or have been, if you've had contact with them, how you're healing from it. What is your perspective when it comes to narcissism or codependency? These are really just labels we use to understand our wounds better, really. I don't necessarily like the labels, but they help people understand. And I don't put a lot of weight on them, especially when it comes to myself and my own healing. I don't put a lot of weight on the labels, but I do think they help people understand the dynamics better, and who they are and how they ended up here. But I think it's important not to put too much weight into those labels, but to understand that they're just kind of there to help you learn. And then you can kind of let go of them a little bit and just see things from a wider perspective. It's always about trying to have the highest perspective possible. And your ego is going to want to tell you, no, they were wrong. Yeah, I guess when you think about it, they were wrong. You didn't deserve that, but you also accepted that. And you have to get past the right and wrong of it and just accept it for what it is and what you learned from it, and move on and heal yourself. Healing is so possible. It just requires us to go within and to look at all the ways we're not loving ourselves. So yeah, share with me in the comments, like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.